Okay, welcome to Fun Friday, learning 100 stitches in 100 Fridays. Tonight, the new stitch is going to be the elongated stitch. This stitch is known as the spike stitch. Lots of people call it the elongated double crochet, but honestly, you can do the spike stitch as a single crochet. You can do it in the round as a circle. You can do it on a lot of different stitches. There's also a spike granny stitch. So I'm going to teach you what the spike stitch is, and then in a lot of your other stitches you can adapt the spike stitch. I'm going to start out with 3 rows of single crochet. So let me finish this third row here. And so I'm going to put a few more single crochets to finish out my end. I've done a chain, I've turned and single crocheted across once, and then I've turned and I've single crocheted across a second time. Then I turned and one more time single crocheted across. So I've got 3 rows of single crochet. I've done 15 stitches. So this will become a winter scarf for Chase the Chill, and that's about 4 to 5 inches across, which is a great scarf length. So this will become a scarf. This is the beginning part, one of the ends. Chain 15, turn, and single crochet back and forth till you get to the what you're going to start as the 4th row. So we're going to turn. We've done our single crochet. We're going to turn. The spike stitch is called the spike stitch because it literally is going to spike down into the other rows, sort of like an icicle. So we're going to chain 1 because we've turned. Then we're going to single crochet into the first one. Then I want to spike stitch, so I'm going to go down into the second row here, pull my thread through, and finish my single crochet. Do you see how that spikes down into that other row? It's a lot like what we do in the moss stitch, but different because we're going all the way down into the other row and there's no hole there. Like in the moss stitch, there was a hole there. We skipped and chained. You have not chained here. This is just impeding that row before. You're also not going to chain in this row. You're just going to go into the next single crochet. Then you're going to dip down, put a spike stitch into that stitch there. See that starting there? So single crochet again, and then dip down, pull the yarn through. There's your stitch. Again, go to the next one. So you're literally stitching in every one. But do you see those kind of dipping down in there to make those spikes? You can spike stitch on every stitch. You can spike stitch here. You can spike stitch here. You can spike stitch here. And that's what it would look like if you were going to do every single one. You just have a bunch of spikes next to each other. This right here is a spike in every other one. This right here is a spike in every single one. I'm going to finish this row out with single crochets, and then I'm going to show you another cool thing about the spike stitch that you can do. But I want to get enough rows underneath me to be able to do it. But this is a really neat pattern, and this next pattern I'm going to show you is also really neat if you change thread colors. So we single crochet all the way down. Now, when I turn on this row, I now have 4 rows built up of single crochet. So right here in this part, I have 4 rows of single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? So it gives me a pretty large space to work with when I'm dipping down. So this time, I'm going to chain my 1 to turn my row. I'm going to slip stitch here. Then I'm going to go just into the first row, or the first stitch, and just do, well, yeah, into the first row. Into the first row of that single crochet and do a spike stitch, but it's just going to be that short. Then I'm going to do my single crochet because that's the stitch I'm using. On this one, I want to dip down to this second row to do my spike stitch. So I'm going to dip down and pull the spike stitch back up. Then I'm going to do a single crochet, because again, that's what I'm working with. Now this time I want to go all the way down to 3. So I'm going to go all the way down here and dip down into my rows and do a long one. Then I'm going to single crochet again. Then I'm only going to dip down into 2. And then I'm going to single crochet again. And then I'm going to dip down into 1. Okay, I want you to see what this does with these spikes now. Can you see that, how it makes sort of like a valley mountain kind of? So each one, if I can hold this flat, this one is a spike stitch that's short, then a little bit longer, then a little bit longer, then back to that level, then back to that level. So it makes like this triangle kind of pyramid going down. That's one of my favorite things to do with it. I'll put it closer so you can really tell. It is so fun to use a spike stitch like that because it starts to make these cool little designs in your previous pattern. So there's the spike stitch going every other one. There's the spike stitch in every single one. And then here's the spike stitch if you make a little pattern with it. So it's a really fun decorative stitch. You can do a lot of things with it. And like I said, you can do single crochet, double crochet, granny square. And when you get enough rows built up and you start doing your spikes, it just really kind of changes the way that your pattern looks, because there's 3 different ways to use it right there. And I'm just making single crochet rows. So it's really fun. So again, I'm going to hold it up really close and let you see. Right here is where I'm going to do the spike stitch. This V right here. Instead of going into the V to make a single crochet, I'm going to go down however many rows I want to go. There's the first row, there's the second row. And go down any amount I want to go. I go in there, pull it through just as if I would do a single crochet. If I want to do a long one and dip down here, I just dip down here, pull it through, and it makes a long dip. You're still going to end up with the same amount of stitches because you still have the V's coming out on top on the next row. You haven't lost any stitches when you do it. And it goes right straight into your pattern. It makes the rows just as tall as the row's supposed to be if you don't spike, because here's the regular single crochets in between these. So it doesn't ruin the shape or the ends of your rows. You can use it in several different patterns. The cool thing about learning the spike stitch this week is next week when we learn the lark's foot, you're going to get to use the spike stitch in the lark's foot. So that's why I wanted the next stitch to be the spike stitch. So you could learn a few different ways to play around with it, and then next week be ready to use it in another crochet stitch that we're going to learn that incorporates the spike stitch into it. So I hope you have fun with the spike stitch. I hope this was something new for a lot of you. And again, post any comments or messages that you like it, don't like it, or what you used it for and what project you made. I hope you guys have a good Friday night, and we will see you in a week. Thank you so much.